For far too long, we have listened to the narrative of the European, but we are here to change the narrative. We're a bunch of men, black men, committed to our people, to our ancestors. And by virtue of that assignment, we are here to change the narrative. This is Jay Rogers, Mike Side. We'll gather together with a couple of brothers tonight that are highly esteemed brothers. Dr. W.E.B. Du Bois can't join us tonight, nor can Dr. Ben Banneker, but we're going to head on with some very exciting subject matters tonight with our brother Denmark VC and our brother William Tell. So welcome again, brothers, tonight. I mean, there's a whole lot going on, and we're going to remind our listening audience before we get started, go ahead and smash that like button and become a subscriber. At this point, it won't cost you anything. And by all means, make some comments below if it's something you like or something you don't understand, or perhaps you can expand on for future listeners and for ourselves. It's so much going on in this world today. It's so much misinformation and disinformation. One of the things that really has caught my heart over the course of the last couple of days has been this situation over in Gaza with Hamas and with the 47 saying how he could turn that land into another Riviera, referencing the French Riviera. And you've got to stretch your mind and your imagination to get any kind of understanding as to what kind of mindset is it to speak in those terms, where you would be literally saying to a group of people, we are going to not only assist in taking away your ancestry lands, we're going to then insult you uh, again by turning it into something that you've never thought possible, never had a desire for it to be in all of the years that you have inhabited the land. And then we hear that, of course, the peace talks and everything breaking down, and there are many that are out now saying, even leaders around the world who have always been supporters of Israel, is saying something is just not correct. And we even had Jeff Sachs, who is one of the world-renowned, uh, I guess, experts when it comes to global hunger, world peace, national sovereignty, and all of that, is saying that Netanyahu, he said it on his own show, that he's crazy, that he's a fool, he's an idiot. Not my words. We're just reporters. We're just researchers. And all we do is share and facilitate information that's readily available to others. But tonight, one of the things that is highly concerning to me is that, my brothers, how in the world can a sitting president literally say, if not by Saturday noon, everything is done, that there's going to be a great regret in that which we now call Gaza? I mean, how does that sit with your spirit, man, with your gut, that you could be so cavalier as it relates to destroying the homeland of a people, and say it in a manner which that it's just that way? That's what we're gonna do. Dr. Tell, I mean, just as a man and as a person, as a child of God, how does that set with you, especially when you're supposed to hear these words coming from the world number one Christian, President 47?
Well, it definitely, first of all, greetings to you, Dr. Rogers, and greetings to our sisters and our brothers of Black Men Declare. Um, I've learned in my life to take people at their word. And when they tell you something or when they going to do something, you kind of believe it. This man who from the beginning of time, since he been in office and even before, has never made a good deal that was good for anyone else except himself. So there's no way that I would believe that he would do anything that would be beneficial for anyone else except him and his family. Um, it's he's always trying to strike fear, always trying to threaten, and always trying to intimidate someone into what makes him happy or what benefits him. So this is no different. This is definitely his MO, and and he feels that I'm going to do everything that I can and everything that I have been doing to get the results that I want.
Peace, family. Peace to my brothers, my colleagues in this fight for truth, freedom, justice, and equality. I found that comment by President Trump similar to I find all his other comments. Somebody who hasn't thought about anything, just want to blurt out, like one of those bad kids in class, sit in the back of the classroom and just blurt out answers, didn't listen to the questions or anything. He just want to blurt out an answer and be heard. That's how I find President Trump. However, I would like to see how the other countries in the Middle East respond. That's going to be the tell all. I want to see if they got enough balls or enough gumption to stand up to Trump, or is it going to be, are they going to come at his beck and call? Because there's a lot of countries I know that is angry with the U.S., but you have the big boy in play, which is Saudi Arabia, and the kings and the kings are out there. You know how they stand is going to tell everything. It's going to tell everything. If they stand up to Trump, you will see him make reasons to back out of what he originally said, because they holding the key. Didn't they just promise him $600 million and he asked for $1 billion, or 600 billion and asked for $1 trillion? So whatever the number was, it was a big number. They are a power player in that area, and they control a lot, and they can have their way. But I know they've been trying to stay out of certain certain things over in that country. But if they allow fellow Muslims to get kicked out of their home, that would say a lot about those Saudis. It would say a lot. So I'm not really focused on Trump, because I know he has a tendency, like a kid with Tourette's. He has that tendency. I want to see how these Saudis are going to play it, how they're going to deal with it. And then we can watch. We can watch either Trump going to get stronger. If they bow down to him, he will get stronger in his voice, or you will begin to see him backtrack and not even have a reason on why he backtracked. So we'll see what happens. Peace.
Denmark, that's a very, very interesting perspective, and I tend to agree with that, because I'm expecting, based on what Iran has already said, and what Iraq has said as well, but I mean, they're already saying and have already received some of Russia's latest fighter jets, and prior to, nobody know if it was prior to now or in response to now. Okay, at least that's what the verbiage is. That's what is being said, and so it's a very dangerous game, because we all know, because we honor sacred scripture, be it the Bible, be it the Quran, be it other books that lead people, billions of people around this globe in their pursuit of God, of Allah, of a higher being, and all of that. Now, if you think about all of that, and you go to have again this kind of person that's going to cavalierly say those things, I'm with you. I hope these nations have a positive and collective response. the worst thing could happen if it's not collected. Because just like Gaddafi attempted to bring to Africa, like America had one coin. Let's unify our currency. Let's come together. Because at the end of the day, think about it. The historical power of America was in its ability to become the global reserve currency and speak in one language. That was it. That's how it surpassed Europe. And now Africa, I believe, is prone to be the same. Now, over in that part where he's talking, we know that there have been Christians and Muslims have lived together in harmony forever, hundreds of years, until we know when it happened. This latest dispensation back in 1948. And so now, if you would allow someone theoretically from the outside to be like we would be in the hood back in the day, you wouldn't allow nobody that's never stepped in the hood, never lived in the hood, never been from the hood, that all of a sudden one day began to be the big bully. And that's what's happened over time, is that if I'm saying America became the big bully. And so it's developed a lot of dislike for itself. But let's imagine it for a moment, based on what you're saying. So if America went and did something, whatever it be, bomb Gaza, I don't know we already know it's bombing them because it's supplying the ammunition and the dollars to Israel. Let's imagine it for a moment. Could we see, well, first of all, I don't think you can isolate a nuclear event. So what will we see? Will we see missiles? Will we see the mother of all bombs again, the Moab? Will we see targeted strikes? Would America be? What would happen? I mean, I'm not a general, never been in the army, but it's just speculation and reading. I've been come to believe that there's no way you can have a controlled fight right now. That everything is too interrelated, too integrated. You can't have a controlled fight. But what do you brothers think? I know Denmark. You've had a chance to spend a little time and a little bit about defense strategy and warfare, and you read, of course, one of the favorite books on the art of warfare. What do you think speculative could happen?
Um, this is definitely something to think about, and I go immediately to the scriptures, man, and talking about these nations being surrounded, the different things that the scripture gives. I wish I had it in front of me right now that these ancient scripts talk about. And if you look at Israel and where it is now, and Gaza, you look at that and you see all of these countries around them. They have a few things in common, man. And you talk about Iran, who we know has some juice. What level of juice they have, I'm not sure. But they have some juice. But then you're talking about a country like Iraq, who still is basically trying to recover, but have a negative feeling towards America. You're talking about Syria, who Israel has tried to take out, has taken out some key elements of Syria. You talk about Lebanon, who Israel also has some dealings with. And again, you go back to Saudi Arabia. You go back to where Turkey stands, where they stand at in this equation. You talk about Yemen. You talk about Egypt. Even Egypt, like, they're frustrated because Trump is trying to tell them that they have to take some of the people from Gaza. So you go to all of these people, and the majority, those countries I named, the majority Muslim countries, and they're surrounded. They're surrounding Israel, and I believe that's why Trump wants to get in. I think there's a couple of reasons. money, oil, all of that, but also to say that we got a bigger play out here. So Iran, I dare you to try something, or Egypt, I dare you to try something. But it doesn't look good, man. It really doesn't look good, and I don't see no strategy of war that doesn't bring all of those nations in. I just don't see it, because once Iran starts, so once Israel starts with some of the bigger boys, it's just gonna, they can do that to the Palestinians, because they really had no real army. No, they really didn't have any protection since their former leader was quote unquote murdered. I can't think of his name right now. Arafat. Since Arafat left, so but these other countries, I think they're itching for they itching for a fight. And again, it's Saudi Arabia. It's where do Saudi Arabia stand at this moment? Because they have been trying to diversify from the oil business, get into sports, get into all kind of things, and they're building these big stadiums. And it's like, okay, are you thinking about the people? Are you thinking about what Israel is doing, or have you gone back to only thinking about money and how much money can be brought in? And it's going to tell, man. I wish you brothers would study the Quraysh. The Quraysh was a tribe during Prophet Muhammad's time, and they were the ones who kind of like persecuted Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, and his believers. They were disbelievers. They was illiterate. It was illiterate, but they ran the country. They ran that area, that desert at that time. And sometimes these Saudis the leaders remind me of those Quraysh people. But I want to see where they stand, man. That to me is the defining it's the defining card in the deck, which is where does Saudi Arabia stand?
Um, I just see it not working out for anyone. Again, as we talked about before, just the the mindset that this man thinks that he can go in there and control it and do whatever he wants to. Like it is like he's playing with Legos or something. I too would be interested to see what the current people of that land will do. I know that they do speak of peace, but they are not willing to just stand there and let someone abuse them. So it'll be interesting to see to see what happens and see what most, if not all of these people who are indigenous to this area, if they will stand up and fight for their rights and their home.
And at the end of the day, I don't think they're going to just roll over. We know that Afghanistan, especially, let's just use that as an example. United States was there for 20 years. I don't think it could be declared a victory. And I think we found out that fighting on their turf is almost an impossibility. I believe prior to America being there, Russia was there, 10 years. So you're talking about 30 years, man, of that one country persevered, and dealt with all kinds of bombs and bombings and everything. I don't think we could go over there with foot on the ground and win a war. I mean, two of the supposed to be the baddest countries in the world have tried that back to back, and both were sitting home, crying, and so that ain't gonna work. So I can't see, man, how you can surgically conduct a war. And I'm not, like I said, I'm not a military guy, but I just common sense. Use that word common sense again. Have you heard that recently? I don't see how with common sense you can go there and surgically fight, Hamas or the Palestinians, and you can surgically go and fight Yemen, and you can surgically and go and fight, whoever your favorite country you dislike. I don't believe that's possible. And so I would agree, Denmark. It'll be interesting to see what kind of brotherhood can come together. They talk about when they talked about even the Muslim brotherhood, how, again, what do we do in America with anybody that want to stand up to America? We make them the boogeyman. They're terrorists. They're bad people. Even inside America, when people want to speak up against something that's unrighteous, what does that group become? They become the boogeyman. They become the terrorists. Now, when the FBI said the greatest threat to terror in America is white folks, and I didn't say that. We're just facilitators again of information and data. We're researchers. It's not what we say, but we do have a responsibility, we think, to share the information and not let it be hidden and bogged down. And that reminds me of another piece that is really, really concerning to me, because it gives us an insight into the level of intelligence of the American people. We know that 47 is coming and slapping up all these tariffs. First is Canada, then Mexico, China, then industries. It just came out this week with, the steel and aluminum industries, a 25% tariff. And I saw a young brother saying how, he was going to suffer. He was going to have a hard time. Then I saw a lady that owns a bakery, and she was sharing about just one of her ingredients, the price of eggs, how it went up from $78 for several dozens, now to $280 for that same several dozen. And she said at this point, she has absorbed that increase. She said, but she can't continue to do that. And unless she gets a break on the price of eggs, that one item that she's going to have to look at potentially laying off people. And then if they have poor service, she can see where ultimately it could drive her out of business. Why is it impossible, my brothers, for the American people to understand that to put a tariff on an imported product coming into America, that is the American consumer that at some point will ultimately pay for that tariff? No business person is going to center any product to any marketplace where now they've been charged an additional 10%, 15, 20%. They can only for a short period of time absorb that. After a while, they gotta pass it on. They would pass it on to us. We know our then price to go and buy some, our cost is going to go up. And then when that go up, it's going to leave us less discretionary income. When we have less discretionary income, we're going to be able to dispose less than we have before. Do you think, feel, and believe the realities of what's happening with inflation and all of that? And I'm going to now go out a little bit into the future. Is that going to have any impact on what's going on now, or what's going to happen 2 years in the midterms? When is the impact going to be? Now, are we going to see more protesting in the streets, or people just going to chill and say, okay, we're coming back in the midterms? Dr. Taylor.
I think that we're going to have a greater, I think in the next several months, we are going to have a lot of uprising. As I reported for the presidential inauguration, the way that DC police and Capitol Hill police, the way that they blocked off streets, it was like they was practicing martial law. And I believe that it was a good practice run for them, that in case if things go sideways, they will be able to enforce and protect themselves. I think we're going to have that uprise. There is a lot of talk right now with government workers who are upset because of what's been going on. And So I think it's going to continue to get worse, and it's going to be an issue.
And since the election, I've been weighing heavy. Like, I'm trying to see if I could get some insight into God's plan. How is this going to play out? Is this a short run thing where Trump comes in, make a whole lot of changes, then the American people turn on him, some type of overthrow, some type of charges, some type of something, or is it going to be a long term where we have to suffer and for 4 years while him and his cronies continue to dominate the headlines and wait for the Democrats to come up with a strategy for 4 years. I'm hoping that they're behind closed doors now trying to figure that out, because in truth, like, that's the besides us just doing what we normally do, wake up, do our best for the day to provide for our families, and trying to impact our communities without getting violent or getting rowdy or whatever. I mean, that's really all we can do is really sit around and see how other people in government is going to respond. And that's what you hope for, that it doesn't come down to people feeling so lost or so rejected that they begin to get despair and do things, because that's when things start happening, when you get your shootings and stuff like that. And I'm hoping that it doesn't come down to people starting to do things and we get to a lost hope, and then we start to do things that are uncommon to how we conduct ourselves as Black people in America. And so our best hope is trying to figure out, I'm not even going to say the Democrats, I'm going to say people that have a good heart or a good mind and is God conscious. If they are God conscious, they will begin to see that something ain't right. He's tearing down the very fabric that America has worked for the past 60 years to at least try somewhat repair. Try to create communities with Blacks, whites, Asians, Latinos, but they're tearing it down in less than 2-3 months. So you would hope that people will have, people that say that they really believe in God, that somehow God would prick their spirit, and they would stand up to him, and they would make the changes, and not the people, not Black people having to do things that, are uncharacteristics at this time. There may be a day that comes, who knows how God works, but we're not necessarily a violent people from the start. You have to really take us there for us to get to that point. And I'm just hoping that we don't get to that level of despair.
I hope so too, my brother. I hope so too. And this brings us really to our final consideration this evening in Black Men Declare. At certain times in the history of America, the Black man and woman has become instrumental in service to the U.S. Armed Forces. In the Revolution, it was Black people helping the British against America because the British was offering them something. In the Civil War that was fought in America, where more soldiers died than in any other battle that America has fought, it was the Black soldiers that came and were given their freedom and ability to marry by helping the Northern soldiers. And now in today's Army, my understanding is that it's disproportionately high in relationship to those men and women that are in the armed services in comparison to the percentage of society makeup. is one of those areas where, just like in penal institutions, where men may be 6% of the population, yet 40% of the prison. And so the armed forces, you have a similar thing, almost like you have in the NFL, where you have this disproportionate amount of players in relationship to the total. So when you have this situation where your just recent Secretary of Defense was a black man, an honorary, highly respected black man, and now you're playing games with someone, and I'm not a military expert again, I'm just a researcher. But it seems to me illogical that all of a sudden you would play such games when you're dealing with all of the subject matter we've already discussed this evening about Gaza and the Middle East. That what's your thought process when you then allow people to come out and say, hey, this particular event you've been going to, where you have recruited a lot of technical people for the military services over the last few years because it's one of your best top events? We ain't going there now because that's DEI. I mean, when is it going to stop? Where half of your current military, by some estimates, happen to be made up of black folks. And so now all of a sudden you're letting this information come out that you no longer want your personnel to pursue shows or avenues where black folks would attend. There are other engineering events, and I'm sure they're mostly predominant white. So it's crazy to me, brothers. It's almost like we have these enemies of intelligence that's running around, and they may have a bunch of money, but their level of IQ and their level of EQ is less than desirable. How can you even begin to make sense out of such a thought process? Can you brothers help me out? Come on, Denmark, help me out.
Yeah, I don't understand it, man. Especially for them to do that quick. The generals just fall in line with Trump like in a blink of an eye. That lets me know that that feeling was already there, because you're not going to make a decision that quickly if you felt that recruiting black engineers and black people from certain events, if you didn't feel in your heart that was the right thing to do, then you're not going to just all of a sudden just drop that with some type of pushback. And that goes actually not only the military, but all of these companies who just got rid of DEI just in a blink of an eye because one man enters the kingdom. That lets me know that the board, the people, the decision makers, they were feeling this all along. And all of those words, those empty words, when the George Floyd murder took place about, giving to black charities and helping them out and donating this much for 5 years and all that. It was just a bunch of empty talk, and they was waiting for the time that something could come along and allow them not to stand up for their word that they spoke on. And I find the U.S. Armed Forces in the same light, that some of these generals and decision makers, they were already feeling like we don't need to go to these black events. We don't need to reach out to black people. But we'll see when things really pop off, and it happened before. Then you need us, and now you want to send us to the front line. You want us to do all of these spectacular things to bring hope to America because you get your butts run out of different countries. You think the weapons are big and bad right now, but there's somebody bigger and badder than you that controls this whole universe.
Let me say this. I see us in a place where we're going to have to come together as a group of people and formulate a way of protecting ourselves with so much discourse, with so much trouble, with so much going on. It's going to cause us to come together. It's unfortunate, but a lot of times when we face conflict, that's the only time when we can show unity. When we face a terrible enemy, that's when we show unity. And I think that this is going to get to the place where we're going to have to show unity in order to survive. I'm not calling for any kind of war. I'm not calling for any kind of destructive. But there's going to be a way, because people are going to get tired. Black people are going to get tired. And they're going to form a way where they can then go ahead and they can go ahead and change the way that they perceive, all because of what's going on. So I think I just see us being able to go and I just see us being able to come together. Unfortunately, I don't see it no time soon, but I had to be honest. I think it's going to be within the next year. I think 2026 is going to be the year when people of color come together and say, okay, enough is enough. We're not dealing with this anymore. And that's when we come together and formulate a way of protecting ourselves and protecting those that we love. As always, blessings to you all.
Well, brothers, it's been a pleasure just chatting a little bit tonight, and we need to do this more often. But my heart is a little bit pain as we continue to change this narrative, because I was speaking with some young people today, and some of them don't get it. Some of them have this pie in the sky, it's going to be all right, blah, blah, blah. And I'm trying to say to them, look, you could do whatever you want to do, even now, regardless of what's going on, because you are an individual. But you have to commit yourself to whatever that is. Because think about it, individually, there's enough space and gap between all of the stuff that people do. It's been proven all of our lives, right? For you to be successful. And that means that you have a dual purpose. You're gonna, it's like a running back coming out of the backfield. They wanna have a dual purpose back. Somebody that can hit it, take the punishment, and somebody that's gifted enough that boom, they got the hands, they can catch the pass, right? And then turn up the field. It's the same way almost today about a young brother or young sister living in America. You got to be able to take the hits that you're going to obviously get from society, and at the same time, you're going to have the skill and the craftiness to be able to dodge the enemy when you need to, and be able to stiff arm if necessary as you go for the grind, because you will be grinding. Ain't gonna be no cakewalks from here on out. Everything gonna be about a grind. But I do believe that God has a special blessing for those people that don't mind grinding righteously. And as we grind righteously, God's gonna show us some ways that are not currently obvious to the naked eye. Take a minute, brothers. Share something as we close. Everybody get a minute. Take a minute. Come on, Dr. Phil.
Just to speak on the just to speak on something positive, I just want to congratulate the Philadelphia Eagles for winning this year's Super Bowl. I had to be honest. I have to do, because of this climate, I gotta speak positive. I gotta also thank and praise God for Jalen Hurts for being the Super Bowl MVP. It is what I predicted, and I said that defense was going to win, and they definitely stepped up. So that's my moment of peace and positivity. As always, blessings to you all.
Well, we know you had to sneak that in there, brother. It's okay. I mean, I wish I had something as positive to end on right now. It's just that I'm feeling that sense of warrior spirit rising in my soul and a lot of people's soul, because I'm seeing the enemy that our ancestors fought. We seeing them rise again. We thought that we had defeated them. We thought that we had defeated it. Many of us did, and I'm starting to see, even though I wasn't around in the 60s and the 1800s and the 1700s, I wasn't around, but my soul, because of DNA, is attached, and I'm beginning to feel it. I'm beginning to feel those ancestors whispering and saying, this is who we was fighting before. This is what we were fighting before. And so this past month or so, just listening to some of the rhetoric that has been going on, I always go back to this one thought process. You can't fathom the depths of Satan.
Mm-hmm.
Peace, family.
And this right in front of us, brothers. It's right in front of us in full manifestation. Brothers, I appreciate your conversation tonight. It's been a beautiful evening together. And again, we need to get together more often. But we are Black Men Declare, ladies and gentlemen. Again, smash that like button below, become a subscriber, even hit the notification button so you know when we're on again. But at the end of the day, we encourage each and every one of you, go out, have your own conversation, be researchers. We are researchers, facilitators of information. All of the thoughts of what may be shared are the thoughts of whoever that person may be, but the information we reference, it is that which we discover and uncover doing our research for, as our brothers say, for truth. So until the next time, we are Black Men Declare. This is J. Roger Mayside, going out in peace and love. Peace, love, peace and love.